When the woman heard of Jesus, she was blessed, one, to hear. She heard something that changed her life. She was blessed with one idea, a goal. If I can but touch the hem of his garment, if I could but touch his clothes, I will be made whole. Ideas are God's children. They're God's children. They're the seeds of a word. They're the seeds of thought. God had a word about Jesus planted in her mind by someone who just told her about Jesus. It's a seed. It's a seed. That idea inflamed her. She became consumed. This very sick woman who had exhausted all of her resources except one: faith. This is what I wrote in. Well, she had other resources as well. Her ears. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. And the rousing words of Shakespeare's Mark Antony, just like that. She heard Jesus. Another resource that she still had operating were her eyes. She saw Jesus and she went in his direction. The idea is a fire of creation, and being consumed by it, she pressed her way through the crowd to the man surrounded by the security squad of disciples. She used her resources of location and time to give her opportunity. She heard, and then she used where she was at the moment, her location, and the time that was available at that moment, because that's all the time you have. For all of you who are planning on something else, you have today. At that moment, she used those other two resources: her eyes, her ears. She pressed her way, her faith, now her location and her time. And by her own efforts, she used whatever strength that remained in her to reach and touch him. Then I told Adamu, you have been a catalyst to stir my spirit to write these words this morning. I love you. You have reached me and touched me, and whatever you desire for your health and welfare, let it be granted. He wrote me back a response. He said, wow. I'm blessed getting to know you. I still remember the words in Tockham. It turned something in me of me to tremendous effect. Then I had to run and tell it to my folk in my village. I said to myself, I can't let this man just go like that. Let me ask you, sir, have you ever met someone and you felt a connection or a click in you that you can't let it go of that person? I know how Elijah, Ruth, and the woman at the well with Jesus, Jacob seeing Rachel, it's something. It's a drive. From this morning, 3 things had happened. We had a service last night and God said, wonderful. He said, when I spoke to you from eternity. When I gave you a word, I gave you a word knowing all the details. Those you know, those you don't know, because all information is available to me, past, present, and future. My thoughts were not based on what anyone would say. My thoughts were based on me and my reality. I speak from eternity. And when I spoke to you, I spoke with everything in mind, even those things that you have said were gone. Information I gave you, that word I gave you some years ago, was as vivid then, as vivid now. That's why the Jews pressed so hard on what God told Abraham, because he is eternal from everlasting to everlasting. Thou art God. So he says, when I speak to you from experience, from my experience, from the things I do, all things are subject to me. So he says, when I spoke, I give you an idea. And the idea is a fire of creation. If you would but take the ideas I have seeded in you, it was a seed to make you do something. And then he said, talk of the woman. Here this man stirs me so early that I text him back and wrote the sermon on the phone. I knew what I'd be talking about, but I had to put it somewhere, and then I tried to run it. Wouldn't take it, so I just took my phone and read from it.